Hey guys, it's Karina with Karina Loves to Plan. Welcome back to my channel. So here I am with a slightly different video that was really inspired by people like Amanda B, Maria Rousseau, Chris Sains, and I know that there are other people that have filmed a similar type of video. I think Sarah of Ginger Peachy Pins filmed one as well. And this is really me looking through my whole collection and considering, if right here and now I lost my whole pen collection, what would I not repurchase to rebuild my collection? So I'm just going to get right into it. You're going to be surprised by some of the things that you see in here. But let's just get right into it. I have to say, at first I was a little hesitant to make this video because I wasn't sure how I wanted to format it. So basically the characteristics or the criteria for this video are I'm not including anything that I've already sold. So this really only encompasses what I have in my collection currently, and that is basically what it is based on. I'm not including any pens that I've already sold because basically if I've already sold them, I probably don't have any plans to repurchase them. So this is based on if I had to repurchase any pens based on what my collection is as of today. So, but this is not a what would I repurchase video. This is a what I would not repurchase video. And I will explain my reasons for each of them because looking at them now, even to me, they're a little surprising, but I will go into each reason. So the first one is the Sailor Pro Gear Slim in the Monyo Nuts. I know this one is a surprising one because this one was one that I was searching for a while and it wasn't available for a while. I told myself when it first came out back in November of 2022, October or November of 2022, that I didn't need it. It was not something I really wanted. And when it sold out, I was slightly relieved, slightly disappointed. And then every time I saw it on somebody in somebody's Instagram feed or somebody's YouTube video, there was this little spark of disappointment and this missing out on something. And then when it became available in March around my birthday, I had to really think about whether or not I really wanted this pen. And in the end that I did, and I'm glad that I got it. But if I had to restart my collection over, I wouldn't repurchase this one. Why? Because the Sailor Pro Gear Slim models are they're just that tiny bit too small for my hand. And the nib, for me, I prefer the nib, the 21K nib on the Sailor Pro Gear. The Sailor medium fine, or the Sailor 14K medium fine is almost slightly too fine for me, for this one in particular, a little bit dry, slightly scratchy. It's not something that I would repurchase again in the future. And maybe it was this particular model, but I mean, while I love it, it's not one that if I did lose, I would be completely sad over. I wouldn't repurchase it in the future. And I don't know if that helps you guys in my reasoning at all, but it's a beautiful pen, but I feel like as I've grown and as my collection grows, going forward, it's not one that I would see in my collection as, a forever pen. I mean, I will be keeping this because it was a birthday present. It was one that I wanted for a long time, but the Sailor Pro Gear Slim model in general is not one that I would repurchase again in the future. The second pen that I would not repurchase, and this one is maybe a surprise as well. It is the Leonardo Momento Zero Grande 2.0 in angel skin, and this has a 14 karat rose gold fine nib. This one was a spontaneous splurge because I had the voucher, the credit over at PenChalet, and it was Black Friday, so I got this at an amazing deal. But once I got it, realized this pen is just slightly too big for me. The nib is incredible, absolutely beautiful, wonderful to write with, but just for me personally, the pen is slightly too big. And when it comes to, you know, internal piston fillers like this, I don't need to use a lot of ink, so I don't need a pen with a large ink capacity. And it is absolutely beautiful, but it is not one that if I had to restart my collection, it's not one I would repurchase again. No way am I selling this right now, but it's one that if I had to just start my collection completely over, I wouldn't repurchase this one. So surprising, my Leonardo Memento Zero Grande 2.0 in Angel Skin. The next one is the Bon Taro. Now I have included a couple of pens in here that were gifted to me. So, you know, my Sailor Pro Gear Slim was gifted to me for my birthday, and this one was sent to me by Pen Heaven. If I were to start my collection again, this is one that I would not purchase. While it is a beautiful pen and a great writer, I find myself actually preferring, you know, my Le Bon 325 or my Le Bon Rosa over the Le Bon Taro. It's maybe slightly narrow. It does have the same Bach nib as the Le Bon Rosa, and it is a great writer. Absolutely beautiful pen. But now that I have tried it and I've seen it, it's not one that I feel is essential for me to rebuild my collection if I needed to. Not saying that any of these pens are bad in any way at all. I'm just saying that this is one that if I had to, again, replace this, I probably would not. So this is the Le Bon Taro in the, oh my gosh, I don't even remember the name. Who remembers the name of this pen? I need to look it up now. It's Pinnacle, Le Bon Taro Pinnacle. Anyway, I'm gonna do these in slightly different order. The next pen is the Pelikan M400 in the white tortoise. This one again surprised me that I put this in the not repurchase list. And this one was, I think, my first Grail pen. Yes, there have been numerous. This is my first Grail pen, and I loved it by, you know, seeing it in Alicia or Adventure Denali's videos, and I thought it was just an absolutely stunning pen. It is a great writer with that 14 karat extra fine nib. Just look at that beautiful, beautiful nib. But it's just too small for my hand. Just that bit too small. I can write maybe a page in my Hobonichi Cousin for my daily journal, but anything more than that, and it just starts to hurt my hand. No, I'm not selling this pen. I don't think I would repurchase this again. It is absolutely beautiful, but now that I know what is comfortable in my hand, what works in my hand, I would spend my money on something else. You know, I'm kind of sad that they don't have this in a larger pen like the M800. I know that there is an M600 in the white tortoise, which is extremely expensive because it is so sought after, but I would not purchase an M400 model of any Pelikan or any M400 model in the Pelikan, just because this particular model is just too small for my hand. So the next one, I can hear Dash going, what? This one was another spontaneous one, and I remember thinking to myself, will I be disappointed if I didn't purchase this special edition? And at the time, I was saying to myself, yeah, I would be disappointed if I didn't purchase it. So this is the M600 in the black tortoise, and it has an extra fine nib. It's currently inked up at the moment. And I do love this pen. I really do love this pen. It's a great writer, very wet flow, you know, has the good ink capacity with the piston filler in there. But I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's necessarily an integral part of my collection. If I no longer had this pen, I don't think it would be the end of the world for me. I think I would choose other pens in my collection over this one. So if I had to rebuild my collection, I'd be okay with not having it or not repurchasing it. Like, while it is a beautiful pen and it does fit in my hand lovely, I mean, it's still almost like it's almost a smidgen too small for my hand, and it is a beautiful, beautiful pen, but I don't think I would repurchase it just because I bought this at a time thinking that I needed the special editions of the Pelicans. I needed the M600, and I do have another M600. This is the green and white stripes, and actually, now that I'm thinking about it, would I repurchase any of these? This one I purchased with a fine cursive smooth italic nib, and now that I think about it, this I would repurchase, so this would not go in there. But definitely the reasons that I purchased this pen in the first place are not the same as why I purchased a pen now. So this would not be something that I would repurchase. If anything, the money that I would use to repurchase this pen, I would put towards maybe an M800. So again, not because this is a bad pen or anything, it's just the way that my tastes have grown. It's not one that I would repurchase. The next pen was also a gift. This was a Christmas gift from my husband. He gave me a gift card towards a stationery store local to me, and I've always wanted to try a Platinum 3776, and it is a very classic pen. I feel like everyone should try the 14 karat nib on the Platinum 3776, and they are fantastic pens. However, for me, that fine nib, I'm still getting used to it, and it's not something that I reach for on a day-to-day basis. It is a beautiful pen, and some people love the toothiness of the 14K fine nib, but for me, I feel like this is almost just too fine. You need the, perfect ink in here, and I like my pens to be a little bit on the wetter side, and this one, while on a day-to-day basis, it's okay, I don't find myself reaching for it. And yes, this one I will keep because it was a birthday present, but it's not one that I would repurchase again should I need to rebuild my collection. I definitely think like everybody should try a Platinum 14 karat nib, and there are a huge range of nibs. I think if I had this in a medium or even a soft fine, I would probably think differently. But the fine nib on this, the nib on this is very stiff. There is very little bounce to it. And again, just that fine nib is just almost too fine for me. So for those reasons, I wouldn't repurchase this Platinum 3776 in the Laurel Green. The next one. This one I'm actually planning on selling right away here. This is my Pilot Custom 743, and I had been looking at this one for quite some time. This was one I purchased off of Amazon, and I was looking at this one because everyone spoke so highly of the Pilot Custom 823, but I did not want the vacuum fill. This one is basically the cartridge converter model of the Pilot Custom 823. It has the same Pilot number 15 14 karat gold nib, and this one's in a fine. I mean, like, that nib is beautiful, and it has the Con 70 converter in there instead of a vac fill. But for me, I'm not a fan of this nib. I'm so used to the 18 karat nib on my Pilot Vanishing Point, and I love the bounciness and the softness of that nib. This nib to me was just slightly underwhelming, and I'm not saying it's a bad nib, I'm just saying it's my own personal choice, my own personal preference. So it really is just for the nib. It was an underwhelming nib experience compared to what I had tried with the Pilot Vanishing Point, and I prefer that, and I even prefer the nib on my Pilot E95S over this. So I would not repurchase this, and I actually plan on selling this. So the last two pens here are custom pens, and I love my custom pens, as you can see from my most recent videos. This one is a beautiful pen from Tailored Pen Co. in the Honeycomb and the Honey Mellow Mel. Why would I not repurchase this again? Because in terms of custom pens, I have become very picky in how the pen is built and how the pen is turned. I'm not a fan of step ups like this, because this one actually feels quite sharp. And while the material is beautiful and I can appreciate all the work that goes into this, I feel like as my tastes change and grow, I prefer the swirlier pens. I prefer, pens like this. And while this is a beautiful, beautiful design, I don't know if I would ever repurchase this particular model, and specifically with that step up here. I prefer pens that have a flush grip section to the body, so you don't have much of a step up there. There's some people that like to see their pens completely flush between the cap and the body. I would rather have it flush between the section and the body, so that when I place my fingers there, it's not uncomfortable, not sharp. So that's the only reason why I wouldn't repurchase this. It is a beautiful pattern and I love all the colors. It's just the comfort level of where that sits, and now my preference towards the more swirly resins. So that is the Tailored Pen Co. in the Honeycomb Mellow Mel. And then lastly, I hate putting this one in here because this is a very recent acquisition and I love this pen, but I think I'm putting all Carolina Pen Co. primary manipulations into this category. While I'm not this particular model is from Zodiac Pen Co. and it's in the Virgo model. I'm not talking about the pen specifically. I'm talking about the primary manipulation blanks by Jonathan Brooks of the Carolina Pen Co. While they are absolutely beautiful and you get such different swirls in every single pen, for me personally, I prefer something like the abalone. I actually like, this isn't a Carolina Pen Co. This is from Turn Pen Co. and it's just on the edge of oopsie. I mean, this is a cool tone primary manipulation, but these colors go together. I feel like there's almost too much going on in the primary manipulation that for me, it's almost a little bit too distracting. I love this pen and I think it's a great pen. It's well made by Zodiac Pen Co. But the primary manipulation blank itself, I've seen a few, and like I'll even show you. There's so much variation between this is a primary manipulation blank Novelure Nautilus from PenChalet, and I love this combination of the swirls, but it's so different. It's the same blank, but they're so different. And I find that unless you have actually seen the pen and held it in your hand, and if you just buy, if you are just buying something from a bigger retailer, you don't know what you're going to get. And while I love this particular one, I don't think primary manipulations are going to be one that I purchase any more of in the future. I now know my preferences towards certain types of resin, certain types of swirls. So while I love this pen, and I keep saying that, while I love this pen, the blank itself is not one that I would repurchase in the future. Whew, that was a lot of talking for me before 11 a.m. But yeah, this kind of study into looking at my collection and what I would repurchase and what I would not repurchase has been really interesting for me. And it's made me really consider what I want my collection to look like, why I purchase each pen. And I am very, very intentional about why I purchase each pen. And yes, while the month of June and July were a lot of purchases, every single one I'm very, very happy with. So I hope this gives you some type of idea as to why I wouldn't repurchase this. Again, the caveat is these are not bad pens in any way, shape, or form. They are just pens that I may have grown out of as my fountain pen journey has progressed. I will be doing another video of the 10 pens, and I'm going to try and keep it to 10 pens, the 10 pens I would repurchase should I need to start my fountain pen collection over again. But let me know down in the comments below what you think of my choices here. Are you surprised by any of them? And what you would not repurchase out of your collection. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button and to subscribe. Thank you so much and have yourselves a great day.